In retirement threat number 3, you're going to see what I consider to be the largest threat to your retirement. If you haven't watched retirement threats number 1 and 2, totally fine. Make sure you go back and watch those, but you can watch retirement threat number 3, 2, 1, whatever, in whatever order you want. Just make sure you watch all of them so that you have a good idea of these hidden threats in your retirement that most people really don't have any clue about. I also did another video kind of going over threat number 2 with the pbs.org article, or really an infographics, really neat. Make sure you check that out as well. And I have a bonus threat coming as well that most people really have no clue about. So that's going to be coming soon. So make sure you check that out. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get right into this. Okay, let's see. All right, so threat number 3 is sequence of returns. That's the sequence of returns risk. The sequence of returns threat is probably the most dangerous threat to a retirement account. How long your retirement funds will last will largely depend on the sequence of the market returns at the beginning of your retirement. If you experience large gains in the early years of retirement, then that's great. You're probably going to wind up doing really well. But if you experience large losses in the early years, like people did who retired in 2007, 8, and then also those who retired in 1999, 2000, and experienced the 2000 to 2002 market drops, which you'll see in a second, they didn't end up in too great of a position. So we're going to go over that as well, and I'm going to show you the real life numbers. I'll show you some hypotheticals, but I'm going to show you the real life market returns as well. So, all right, just in a hypothetical scenario here, I'm going to show you scenario 1 and 2. In both scenarios, the hypothetical retiree here is going to be 65 years old, and is going to retire with $1 million. When I was growing up, I was always told, oh, you want to have $1 million saved for retirement and you'll have enough money to last you for the rest of your life. I really don't think that's the case anymore. As you see, inflation continues to go up. Prices of everything is going up. So it's costing a lot more for people to live. The cost of living is way higher today than it was when I was younger, when I was in school. So, and for many of you as well. So you want to have a larger amount in retirement than $1 million to really feel comfortable. But in this scenario, we're just going to use $1 million. In both of these scenarios, 1 and 2, the retiree is going to withdraw 4% per year plus 2.1% annual increase for inflation each year, all the way to age 86. So you see they're starting to retire and withdraw. You'll see withdrawals as well at age 65 all the way to age 86. We're going to see how they end up. All right. In scenario 2, it's going to show the actual S&P 500 stock market returns from year 2000 to the year 2021. Okay. In scenario 1, it's going to be flipped. So you're going to see the inverse. So you're going to see those same returns, but you're going to see at age 65, in this hypothetical, we're going to see, and this is all going to make sense in a second when you see the numbers. You're going to see at age 65, they're going to get whatever the market returns were for the S&P 500 in year 2021, at age 66, year 2020, and so on. All right, so let's look at these. And these, by the way, these are not including the fee. You're going to see what it looks like including the fee in just a bit, but these are without any fee included. Okay. So if you notice, and hopefully you can see my cursor on the screen, at age 65, they're getting the market returns, S&P 500 market returns for the year 2021, which were 10.93%. Okay. Again, that's without a fee. All right. So they withdrew $40,000 in that year. They started with $1 million. They withdrew $40,000, and they actually still had a gain because that 10.3% gain outdid what they withdrew. So they actually had a gain of $69,300. So you look through this all the way down here, you see the year 2000, 2001, 2002 returns here from 86 to 85, 84. Remember, this one's inverted. So these would have been, if they were retired at age 65 in the year 2000, they would have had that negative 10.14% right here, and then the negative 13.04% right here. You're going to see that in scenario 2. But we inverted it. So they got these last several years, they've got, right here in the early years of their retirement. And you see down here, they've been able to withdraw a little over 1.1 million from 65 to 86. And they still have $1.6 million down here to leave their family. Let's say they died at age 86. Well, they were able to live off of those withdrawals from 65 to 86. Let's say this hypothetical retiree passed away to 86. They were able to leave their family $1.6 million. That's 609,000 more than what they initially retired with. So they had tremendous growth, and it's because they had the growth in these beginning years because we inverted it. Now let's look at the actual returns. All right, here it is, the actual returns, and this is where it gets to be mind-blowing. So this is what it actually looked like. Again, these are without fees included. So everybody, if you have your money managed by a financial advisor, you're paying fees. Now there are ways to not pay fees, and that's something that I help people with. So we can avoid fees. We can avoid the risk of loss. We can avoid sequence of returns risk. And so many other risks, and really build a really, really nice portfolio with so many other added benefits. So you look at these returns here, year 2000, this is true S&P 500 returns, the negative 10.14%, 2001, 13.04%. And in 2002, it was a negative 23.37%. So imagine how many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people retired right here in the year 2000. Well, they took a negative 10.14% loss in the year 2000, the first year of their retirement, and they withdrew $40,000 to live off of. Their account value dropped from 1 million to 858,000. All right. Compare that to over here. If they would have had that 10.93% growth, if that was a positive year in the beginning of their retirement, they would have done really well. They would have made money and taken out the same amount, that $40,000. So you see in the next year, again, they withdrew 40,000 plus, they had a negative 13% year. And that third year, they had a negative 23% year. Okay. So it dropped again. So now after 3 years, with withdrawals and the losses they're taking in their portfolio, their retirement nest egg has dropped in half, more than half, from 1 million to just under $500,000. That's a big hit to their retirement. And you can see down here at the bottom, yes, they were able to withdraw from 65 to 85, for those years, 20 years, a little over $1 million, which over here they, withdrew 1.1 million, but 1 million, they have nothing though else to live off of. So they're probably going to have to go work at Walmart or Lowe's or wherever and be a greeter. Find some other kind of job they can do at 85, 86 years old. But you see, they run out of money at 85. So not only do they run out of money, there's nothing to be left to their family. They have nothing to give to their loved ones when they pass away. And it's all because they took those negative years in the early years of their retirement instead of the later years of their retirement. So you see down here, and back to scenario 1, even though they took these big losses in the later years, yes, they lost a lot of money, but because they had the gains in the early years, they wound up being just fine. They wound up doing actually really well. All right. So let's look at it with fees now. Okay. And let me just go over this with you real quick. The hypothetical retiree was lucky here in scenario 1. The portfolio was able to provide $1.1 million in cumulative income withdrawals from age 65 to age 86, while still growing the account to 1.6 million. All right. You add those two figures together, and the total portfolio benefit to the client and their heirs is about a little over 2.7 million. Now you look at scenario 2, they were unlucky because they took those market losses in the early years. And even though annualized returns were the same, if you notice, 5.09%, 5.09% in both, the timing of returns prevented this portfolio from being successful. While the portfolio was able to provide a little over $1 million in cumulative withdrawals, it was completely depleted in 20 years. So they had nothing else to live off of. And like I said, nothing else to leave their family. So let's look at these true historical S&P returns. Again, these are the actual years, 2000 and 2021, with a 1.5% fee included, which is, that's pretty average. That's the case for most people, 1.5% fee. If you have a smaller amount of money in there, it's, usually a 2% fee or higher. The smaller amount of money you have, the higher percentage of fees they charge you to manage. It's kind of backwards because it takes you a lot longer to get to those, higher amounts. And that's by design to benefit financial advisors, not to benefit you. All right. So if you look at this, just taking out $30,500, you add in that 1.5% fee in here, you actually would have run out of money completely by year 2011. So in those 11 years, you're done. You're toast. You have nothing left to live off of. You were only able to withdraw $358,628. That's with $500,000, starting with $500,000, which is, I'll have to check the numbers on this, but I think it's more than what the average retiree has at the time of retirement. So this is a more this number is a little closer to what most people have when they retire. This is not good. This is not good at all, because this is a very small amount of income you're pulling out here, but that fee absolutely destroys your account. All right. Now let's look at it flip. Again, sequence of returns. We're going to look at the sequence of returns, taking those losses in the later years and having these positive gains from 2019, 2020, and 2021 in the earlier years. Okay. Here it is flipped. Just by, didn't do anything else to change this. Just by flipping the sequence of returns, taking those gains in the early years, taking the losses in the later years, the same exact person starting with $500,000 would have been able to withdraw $671,000, almost double over here, and still have more than what they initially retired with, $530,000. That's a big difference. This is something you can avoid. You can avoid the sequence of returns threat to your portfolio. There are ways to do that, multiple ways to do that, where you don't have to worry about, I've worked my whole life, I've saved up all this money. Am I going to lose? Am I going to run out? Am I going to lose all this money, or half my money, or 3/4 of my money, 25% of my money, whatever? Am I going to take big losses in the early years of my retirement and lose so much of my retirement money that I've worked so hard to save up? And am I gonna run out? Am I gonna have to go back to work at a really old age? What if my health's not good enough? How am I gonna be able to live the same lifestyle I'm living now, or even close to it? And how am I gonna have any money to be able to give to my family members? I want to be able to leave something to my children, to my grandchildren. You are out of luck if you take those losses in the early years, as you've seen in this example and the one before without fees. This one with fees, those fees will absolutely destroy it, your portfolio. That I'd go over that in retirement threat number 2 and another video, so make sure you watch those. And here they are. Retirement threat number 1 is average rate of returns risk. That is, you really need to watch that and see how that number is really manipulated by financial advisors. Definitely check that out. Management fees and hidden hidden threat number 2. And this video, the retirement gamble, I go over PBS.org's animated infographic. It is absolutely phenomenal. Highly recommend going through it yourself and just going through it yourself. But watch the video as I go through it, because I add some context, I add a little more details to it. Make sure you go and watch those videos. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, make sure you grab a copy of my free ebook, link below, Bank on Yourself, The Big Secret to Generational Wealth.